Hello, you are watching Shalom World News. I'm Marina Gosu from Washington, D.C. Here are the latest headlines from around the world. During a phone call with Pope Francis, Brazil's President Luiz Inacio Lula da Silva discussed ways to combat poverty in the nation and the war in the Ukraine. The Brazilian government's website published a communiqué revealing the details of the conversation. The president recently reiterated his proposal to mediate a peaceful conclusion to the Ukrainian war. He also thanked the Holy Father for encouraging peace in the war-torn country. According to the website, President Lula expressed his appreciation for the Pope's fight against poverty. He also spoke about the Brazilian Catholic Church's commitment to protecting the Amazon basin and thanked the pontiff for supporting the Latin American country. He also used the opportunity to invite the Pope to make a second visit to Brazil. A startling 15.3 million people, or nearly 70% of the Syrian population, require humanitarian assistance, says a UN Nations report. The UN report says that for the first time in Syria's 12-year civil war, every district is experiencing some kind of humanitarian stress. Less than 10% of a $5.4 billion UN appeal to help more than 14 million Syrians has been financed. The UN World Food Programme warns that without more funding, 2.5 million people risk losing food or financial support as of July. Director of Operations of the UN Humanitarian Office, Idem Wassernu, says that the Syrian people are more reliant on humanitarian assistance as basic services and critical infrastructure are on the brink of collapse. Wassernu is urging generous pledges and the swift release of funds at a European Union-hosted conference in Brussels on June 14th to 15th. In Sudan, there are concerns that the 6-week-old conflict would drag Africa's third-largest nation further into a humanitarian disaster. This comes after the Sudanese army on Wednesday suspended ceasefire negotiations with the rival paramilitary group Rapid Support Forces. The military says in a statement that they ended negotiations in Jeddah in Saudi Arabia because the Rapid Support Forces had repeatedly broken the ceasefire agreement and failed to fulfill any of its conditions. Media reported heavy clashes across the Nile in northern Omdurman and northern Bahri through Wednesday evening. United Nations said the battle has caused hundreds of deaths, over 1.2 million internal displacements, and 400,000 border crossings to adjacent nations since April. A Pakistani court has sentenced a 22-year-old Christian to death on May 30th after finding him guilty of so-called blasphemy. Noman Masih's lawyer, Lazar Allah Rakha, claimed that despite the prosecution's failure to present evidence in the support of the blasphemy accusation against him, the Sessions Court in Punjab province announced its decision to carry out capital punishment. Section 295C of Pakistan's blasphemy laws says disrespecting Islam's prophet Muhammad carries a mandatory death sentence. The lawyer said that after the court issued its written decision, he would file an appeal against the conviction with the Lahore High Court within the required 7 days. Noman's father's Asghar Masih said the family was startled by the decision. "We are standing firm in our faith and looking to God for Noman's freedom," he said, adding that the family is in need of prayers and financial support. In the United States, a Republican senator has expressed concern over the power of artificial intelligence, or AI. In a recent interview with Fox News Digital, Senator Josh Hawley said he was worried about the ability of AI to manipulate the attention of humans and their opinions apart from the information they are provided. The ranking member of the Senate Judiciary Subcommittee on Privacy, Technology, and the Law said that AI technology can figure out what holds people's attention and what they find engaging. He added that power has to be back in the hands of Americans to protect their information and opinions. Hawley is also suggesting a way to rein in AI by giving Americans the right to sue companies that employ artificial intelligence if it is misused. In October 2021, Hawley co-sponsored a bill that seeks to repeal Section 230 of the Communications Act of 1934, which protects a provider or user of an interactive computer service from liability for screening or blocking objectionable content. The Latin American nation of Argentina has said that a prescription is no longer needed to obtain emergency contraception. The move facilitating access to the morning after pill, which can cause an abortion, was taken by the government on Wednesday. In December 2020, the home country of the Holy Father approved a law permitting abortion up to 14 weeks of pregnancy. Argentine pro-life organization Derqui la Vida said that the move was worrying because the state is orienting itself towards promoting potentially abortive measures. In the latest attack against the Catholic Church, the Nicaraguan dictatorship has seized a Catholic school and expelled 3 nuns working there. The authorities transferred the Santa Luisa de Marillac Technical Institute, run by the Sisters of the Congregation of St. Luisa de Marillac, to government control. Nicaraguan media said that the 3 foreign nuns would be expelled soon. Meanwhile, the head of the Catholic Church in Nicaragua, Cardinal Leopoldo Brenes, urged the faithful to remain calm amid the money laundering accusation leveled against the church. The National Police charged the church on May 27th with money laundering and called the prelate to submit documents citing the bank account details. Police said that during the investigation they found thousands of dollars hidden in bags in various diocesan facilities. This is the latest round of attacks against the church by the Daniel Ortega regime. The World Council of Churches has denounced the recent intolerance and harassment against Christians in the Holy Land. It is the latest anti-Christian incident by Jewish activists in Israel. Hundreds of evangelical Christians gathered for a prayer rally at the Jerusalem Archaeological Park Davidson Center on May 28th, close to the Western Wall. During the event, they were attacked by Israeli protesters who insulted and spat on them, vandalized windows, and yelled at them to leave the country. Meanwhile, the officials have announced that the Israeli Foreign Ministry will boycott a conference focusing on the growing wave of attacks by Jewish Israelis against Christians. The academic conference is set to take place next week in Jerusalem. Following the attack, a leading expert on Christianity organized the conference, inviting church leaders, foreign diplomats, and representatives of Israeli government ministries. At least 8 people have been killed and scores injured by Islamic militants in northern Cameroon on Tuesday. Armed militants killed 3 customs officers, 3 soldiers, and 2 civilians in separate attacks. Following the attacks by Islamic militants, Cameroonian officials have called for more troops from neighboring Nigeria and Chad to be deployed at the shared border. The attacks were unleashed in the towns of Mora and Zigaj, bordering Nigeria, which shelters a large number of Boko Haram fighters. The governor of the attacked region, Mijiawa Bakari, accused Boko Haram of carrying out the attacks. However, the Islamic State has claimed responsibility for the attack through a telegram statement. The Church of Scotland, which follows the Calvinist theology and a Presbyterian format, is suffering the same fate as the Methodist Church in the United States. In the past 15 years, the Church of Scotland has lost half of its registered believers because of the dilution of doctrine. While there were 325,695 members in 2018, the number drastically dipped to 270,300 last year. Experts say that imbibing more and more worldly doctrines and disciplines has caused a massive erosion of believers over the years. The aging population of Scotland is also to blame for the emptying pews in the Church of Scotland, which is also known as the Kirk. A report prepared by Assembly Trustees Committee says that the average age of the faithful is 62 years. Among the doctrinal issues is the question of homosexuality, which has caused desertions from the ranks of the Kirk. Since 2009, the Church of Scotland allows openly homosexual and unchaste clergymen to minister to believers. A bill has been passed by one of the Australian territories to take over a Catholic hospital. The Legislative Assembly of the Australian Capital Territory passed legislation by a vote of 14-7 to take over the Calvary Public Hospital. It is expected that the control of the hospital will be given to Canberra Health Services by the first week of July, in spite of legal challenges. Opposition leader Jeremy Hansen has said the government should not ignore the opposition to the takeover from healthcare professionals and other organizations. He also said that a group of senior nurses has termed the culture at Canberra Health Services as toxic. As many as 32,000 people have also inked a petition to the Canberra-Goulburn Archdiocese voicing their protest against the acquisition. The Pontifical Commission for the Protection of Minors and the Dicastery for the Clergy have signed a Memorandum of Understanding on the protection of minors. It aims to include developing spaces for listening to and welcoming survivors, collaboration for safeguarding in particular churches, and implementing permanent training for priests. The agreement, signed on May 26, also stipulates terms for information sharing to create a yearly report that will be given to the Pope. This is the second agreement between the Commission and a curial institution since Pope Francis reformed the Roman Curia with the Apostolic Constitution Predicat Evangelium. The first agreement was signed on April 21st to strengthen initiatives to stop abuse in specific churches. The second agreement intends to serve the local churches along with priests and the victims of abuse. And those are your latest headlines. Join us again tomorrow for more. You can also visit swnews.org for more updates. Shalom.